Hello, good morning from Geneva, and good afternoon and good evening to everyone watching us. Um, I am pleased to be actually joined by our guest today who are in London. This is a different conversation than usual that we're always doing from Geneva. We have Diarmid from London who arrived to London this morning, biking all the way from Geneva. Very much like she comes away from COP26 where leaders will meet to discuss further climate action to protect the health of the planet. Good morning, Diarmid. I'm very happy to see you in London. And we also have Finella Kate, who is palliative at Progressive Connection Consulting Company in the UK. Good morning to you, Fin, and thank you so much for finding the time to talk to us today. Can you hear me, Bob?
We can't hear you very well.
Oh, you can't hear me very well. We have some sound issues. Can you hear me now?
Oh, that's better,
Much
yes.
better, thanks. Hi,
Great.
Alex.
Hi.
Good morning. I'm very pleased to be joined by you in London. Diarmid, I just informed our viewers that you arrived to London after over a week ride from Geneva. So maybe we can start with your ride. Maybe you can walk us through it. How did it go? And how do you feel now after accomplishing it?
Yeah, thanks, Alex. It's absolutely great. So it has taken a full week or just over a week. It's been, I think, came in about 860 kilometres at the end, and it was properly hard for me. I've never cycled anything like that kind of distance before, but it's been great. It's been really fantastic to do it. It's been fantastic to travel by bike across that distance. Went through Paris, turned up in London, cycled around on fantastic cycle paths in London, and the best bit of all is to meet up with this lot, with the health workers from the UK NHS, who are going to now take the ride on to Glasgow.
Thank you, Diarmid. So you were carrying with you a very important report with healthy climate prescriptions from WHO, and also the letter that was signed by Dr. Tedros, our Director General, among other health professionals. So is the letter there? Is the report there?
Yeah, you've got no idea, Alex, how many times I've checked that I've still got it with me, because every time I got on the bike in the morning, I checked it about 5 times. But the two things as you describe, Alex. First is the report, which we launched last week, I think it was. So it's a report, basically the health argument for climate action. And it's produced by WHO, but in full consultation with the wider health community. So we've consulted really widely on this. I think there's over 400 people from different health organizations around the world contributing. And what it describes is all of the good reasons why we need to act on climate change to protect our health. And there are so many positive reasons to act on climate change. Partly it's to protect health from all of the climate risks that we've got, but it's also these big health benefits. I'll just quickly show you, this is the right copy. It's been signed by Dr. Tedros before we left. And the other thing that I have with me is a copy of a letter which was signed by organizations representing over 45 million healthcare workers from around the world. And it's basically a request to the heads of government who are meeting in Glasgow for the COP. And again, it's the voice of the health community saying that we need to act on climate change to protect our health. And one, again, of the important signatories on this is that it's all by Dr. Tedros before he left. So I'm going to hand over for this. I can stop worrying about it now, because I'm really pleased to hand it over to Finn for the NHS.
Very much.
Glasgow.
And I think we will now have the anxiety of making sure we get it up to the conference, the climate conference in Scotland.
Dear Finn, thank you. Thank you for taking the responsibility further to make sure that the report and the letter are arriving safely to Glasgow in time. So can you please tell us a bit about your work on climate change and health, and why are you taking this letter and report over? Why is health community mobilized so much in this movement?
I think collectively across the children's health community, we're seeing children who are unwell as a consequence of climate change. We know that climate change and the air pollution that goes alongside it is responsible for an increased incidence of premature births, of low birth weight babies, higher incidence of disease, not just for adults but also for children. And children tend to be the most affected by climate change. The thing that has shocked me the most actually about air pollution is pollution particles being churned across the placenta. So air pollution is affecting children even before they're born, and that's really staggering. Our feeling is that as children's health professionals, we've got a duty to protect children's health, and my personal feeling is that if I ignore the issue or say nothing about the issue, it means that I don't care or I don't think it matters. And actually we need to protect children's health, and it really, really does matter. So we have to do something. I'm not alone in that. You know, everyone who's cycling with me up to Glasgow, all those people who are supporting us, and millions of other children's healthcare professionals across the world, you know, we're all really, really concerned about this. You know, I'm just thinking, we're sitting in Camden at the moment, and
Sorry, I think we have a bit of connection issues. I hope we'll have Diarmid and Finn back in the program shortly. Finn, Diarmid, can you hear me? Oh, I'm afraid maybe we lost them. The picture is frozen. I hope the connection will improve shortly so that we can hear more from Finn about the ride that health professionals are taking from London to Glasgow to arrive to COP. Finn, Diarmid, do you hear me? Hello? I will give them a minute or two to try to reconnect as... Hello? Diarmid? Finn? Thank you for staying with us for a couple of more minutes. I really hope we can reconnect with Diarmid and Finn in London. Diarmid just arrived after over a week bike ride from Geneva to London, biking the talk for climate action, for using more sustainable transport, to cut CO2 emissions instead of flying over there. But most importantly, carrying the report with 10 healthy prescriptions that WHO published also a week ago ahead of COP26, urging countries and governments to take this action and to protect our health. Climate change has various negative impacts on all of us. So you are here back. Thank you so much. I'm glad to see you. We had a bit of problems. So Diarmid, I use the chance to repeat recommendations of the report and about your ride. And Finn, you're talking about so negative impact of air pollution particles to children's health even before they are born. And you're both sitting there in front of pollution pods. So Diarmid, maybe you can tell us about this installation and what is this installation trying to tell the world?
Yeah, so as Finn has just described, we know that air pollution is one of the biggest public health challenges that we face around the world. It kills about 7 million people every year, so I think a minute die from air pollution. So it's an absolute public health disaster all across the world. And what the pollution pods do, it's this fantastic art exhibition, that this series of individual pods, and each of them replicates the experience of being in a city with a different level, or a different place around the world with a different level of pollution. So it replicates being in quite clean air in Norway, it replicates being in London, I think, replicates a city in Brazil, a city in China, a city in India, so that you can go through these pods and actually experience what it feels like to be exposed to that level of none of it is harmful, but it replicates that experience. And we think it really is critically important that people actually understand what the experience of breathing in air pollution actually. you can't see air pollution, you can't feel it. And when you're surrounded by it all the time, even then you get used to it. So what the pollution pods do is to show what more polluted air feels like and cleaner air feels like, just to bring that home to people. But it's really just about getting that message across that this is not something we should just accept. We should have a right to clean air. And over 90% of people around the world actually breathe air which exceeds WHO's air quality guidelines, which we consider toxic. And there, as Finn has just outlined, there's no reason for that to happen now. We have the technologies to give people clean air, which are also the solutions to the climate crisis. So the air pollution pods is just a way of making that real to people.
Thank you so much, Diarmid. And Finn, when you face your patients who have actually health problems due to air pollution, what is your advice to them? What they can do to protect themselves?
I think there's a range of things they can do. I think one of the things they can do is actually make a contribution to the solution, as well as looking at their own individual health issues. So I think, for example, trying to encourage families to not use cars unless they really, really have to. If you need to drive your children to school, for example, can you carpool and share with other parents so we can get fewer cars on the road? We want to encourage children to be walking and to be outdoors, but equally we want to try and protect them from the air pollution. So things that might sound over worrying maybe, but they actually aren't, is we encourage people walk on quieter roads, walk away from traffic, try and walk in park areas. Think about pollution in your own home. For example, don't
Apologies, I think we have connection issues again.
to contribute to
Oh,
poorer respiratory health.
Thank you, Finn. And Diarmid, maybe you can remind our viewers as well on a wide range of climate change impacts on health. How is climate change harming our health?
Sorry, Alex, just lost you for a second there. What was the question again?
If you maybe can explain the full range of health impacts of climate change to our viewers.
Absolutely, and the big problem with climate change is that it isn't an individual disease that we can get a vaccine and put into place social distancing and solve the single disease problem. What climate change does is to take existing health problems and make them worse. So it makes heat waves stronger and more intense. It makes floods, storms and droughts stronger and more intense. It makes it easier to transmit infections, waterborne diseases like cholera. And then most importantly of all, it undermines the fundamental determinants of health. So it impacts on our air quality, our food supplies, our water supplies and so on. And then ultimately, sea level rise from climate change will actually submerge certain countries. So it's an absolutely massive challenge. It's a fundamental challenge. And we can do a lot to protect people's health from these risks, but some things we can't protect them from. And that's why it's so important to get carbon emissions down, but also to get the great health benefits of more sustainable energy systems, more sustainable food systems, more sustainable transport systems.
Thank you, Diarmid. And what are we asking governments to do at COP26 to protect our health?
Well, I can say a couple of things, but I'm sure Finn will have more to add. But the most important message from the health community, I would say, is that our health is not negotiable. The COP is a negotiation, and people will talk about finance and so on. But the one thing that cannot be on the table is health. You can't put children's health on the table to be negotiated away. And I think if you take that, the Paris Climate Agreement states the right to health. It's the right. And so you have to start from that point and work backwards. So we're hoping that the leaders in Glasgow will take that seriously, to realise that this is not some thing about an international treaty. It's actually the decisions that need to be taken to protect the health of future generations, and they need to have the ambition and the courage to take the steps that need to be taken in order to guarantee that.
And I think we're very anxious that children's health should be top of the agenda, because children are the most affected by climate change, and also that measures to reduce climate change take children's health and also air pollution as a huge priority, because we can really make a difference if those are our focus points.
Thank you, Finn. Thank you, Diarmid. And maybe last question for you, Finn. You got the letter, you got the report. When is the ride starting, and how long is it going to take you to get to Glasgow?
Oh dear, the ride's starting in 9 minutes. It's going to take us 8 days, although the last day we'll probably cycle a little bit less. So we're doing most of the cycling in the next 7 days. And you're speaking to someone who is not really a cyclist. I commute 5 miles into work. Actually, I've lied even there. It's 4 miles into work and 4 miles home. And I'm going to be doing 60 to, I think, 85 miles a day, so over 100 kilometres. It's a real challenge, but it's worth it, absolutely, definitely, because what could matter more than this? Seriously, to a paediatrician, what could matter more?
Thank you so much, Finn, for taking up this challenge, for taking also our messages and reports to Glasgow. We will be following your ride. We will be following your work and situation at COP26. We hope to have positive and strong outcomes to protect our health, but most importantly, as you said, to protect the health of our children around the world. Thank you so much for your time. I don't want to take more of it because you have a couple of minutes to get ready for your ride. I wish you all the best and most importantly, the safe ride up the north. Goodbye. Lovely to meet you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Alex.
Thank you.
Stay safe, Diarmid, as well.
Lovely.
So my name is Diarmid Campbell-Lendrum. I'm the head of the Climate Change Health Programme at WHO headquarters in Geneva, and I'll be cycling from here to the UK to bring the health message to the Climate Change COP. So I'll be cycling about 850 kilometres to bring a series of health recommendations from WHO and the wider health community, and a letter on behalf of 45 million healthcare professionals to London. And there I'll hand over to a group of healthcare workers who will cycle about the same distance from London to Glasgow to deliver that message at the COP. Now is the time for climate action to protect our